What's up guys, Maindric here, and I just completed Ludum Dare 46 with my compo entry, Protect the Pup. This entry was honestly really stressful for me. It's the first game jam I've ever done, and I'm quite happy that I did it. There's a couple things I've learned, and I want to go over them in this video. Let's get to it. The development phase for Ludum Dare 46 occurred on April 18th through the 21st, depending on your time zone. Due to some recent global events, more people are spending time at home than ever before. As such, this Ludum Dare has seen more participants than ever before. This is ironic to me as I was planning to participate as far back as November. I had no idea what I was getting myself into either. I have dabbled in many different aspects of game design and programming in the past. Heck, just look at my video history and you'll see RPG Maker videos from several years back. I have worked in Unity, App Game Kit, Dark Basic, and others. Not exactly in that order. Coming off from working on my bachelor's degree this past December, I wanted to shift my focus on working on my game development skills. I felt that while I work on developing these skills, I should put myself into the game development community, and Ludum Dare is one effort into this. Ludum Dare 46 started for me at 10:30 a.m. on the 18th of April. This is a pretty fortunate time to start compared to other time zones, as I could get to work right away. I had a couple ideas for some of the themes that came up. Honestly, I was really hoping for turn a violent genre non-violent, as I came up with a few good ideas for this. 10:30 a.m. rolled around and the theme was announced. Keep it alive. All in all, I was left disappointed by the theme chosen after the jam was over. Simply because it could too easily be used in too many games out there already. Seeing some of the uploads though, which I feel would be the highlight, some people were able to get creative with some hyper focus on the theme. For my project, I went through a few trains of thought for the direction that I wanted to go. I started out by making an idle clicker game, much like Adventure Capitalist and Cookie Clicker. It was focused on a power grid, and the goal would be to keep that power grid alive. However, it would have been balanced out with a demand that would grow. Ultimately, I simply was not feeling this idea and something had to change. That something was the game idea. I'll be honest, after I flopped with the idle game idea, I was doubting my ability to do this. I had spent a couple hours at this point and I just had to take a step back, and I sat on the couch a little bit with my wife and talked with her for a bit. My confidence was abysmally low. After all, I was having doubts even before the jam had started. So this was a hard and early blow for me. However, she grabbed me by the shirt, slapped me around, and told me to get to work. Okay, that was an exaggeration, but she motivated me to get to work and got me out of my slump. With this recent kick to motivation, I went back to working on my entry. Enter the mashup tower defense idea. I imagined a tower defense game much like Comet Crash that I used to play with my dad on the PS3. For those who don't know, Castle Crash is a tower defense game where you can place towers on a 2D grid and not necessarily along a specific path. You ended up creating the path for the enemy to traverse, and your goal was to kill them before they could get to your target. In my game, it'd be operating in a similar grid. However, you were the target to be protected. In my game, because you weren't able to control the towers, they'd be placed randomly on the map, and it was your job to stick near these towers to stay protected, and therefore stay alive, hence my tie into the theme. I came into this aiming to participate in the compo, however, I understood that I may not meet the deadline as this was my very first game jam. I simply had no idea what I was going into this, so I was honestly expecting to actually turn it in before the jam, which it gives you an extra 24 hours to work with. In the end, I was able to meet the deadline for the compo, and in doing so, I have learned a lot from this experience. There are many reasons to do a post-mortem of a game after a game jam. One reason is to document your thoughts, your feelings, and everything so you could review them later, to reflect on later. This will allow you to know what you struggled with and what you feel you did right. So when you go into it again, you're left more prepared. And with this, there are 5 key things I learned this game jam that I certainly do plan on carrying forward in the future. And if you're willing to stay with me for this, I hope you will learn something too. Overall, there are 5 tips that I would like to share for anyone who's willing to listen, and here they are. The first tip is something that I was kind of already aware of beforehand, however, knowing the importance of can never be understated, and that is ensuring that your scope is controlled. As I worked on the project, I had goals that I wanted to achieve that I was envisioning. However, as I began working on parts, I realized that some things just simply were not feasible. This included multiple different types of towers and additional tasks for the user, such as tower upgrades. For full context, I streamed nearly everything that I did for this project, sans modeling the alien. Doing this added workload and reduced my potential to the game, especially due to my inexperience. However the case, the scope is the first thing I can recommend newcomers to keep a realistic eye on. A smaller, refined experience is better than an expansive, rough experience. Keep in mind that each feature added is to be playtested and debugged. Debugging time has become a joke for a reason after all. Managing scope is something that is important beyond game jams as well. Ultimately, in a game jam, we are not trying to develop a fully featured game, only a game to match an experience that we want to make. Developers are given a theme to work with like a blank canvas, but the rest is up to the developer. When developing Protect the Pup, I went in with 2 very specific goals. 1. Develop a completed game using Godot. 2. Develop a 3D game in Godot. These 2 goals are very similar overall. However, I have done quite a bit of development in Godot already, but that was almost exclusively all in 2D, so I wanted to do something with 3D. And I have yet to make a full game using Godot, so this game jam is a great way to change that. The first and only other game I have ever finished was in a week-long venture that I put myself on a few years back, a solo jam I suppose. It was a bullet hell style game I made using C++ and App Game Kit's Tier 2, which is just a wrapper for their basic language in C++. This game featured a title screen, a game over screen, of course the main bullet hell game, and a score tracking system. I went into this game exclusively with a goal like my number 1 goal here: develop a completed game. For this game jam, I wanted to do that, but using Godot. On top of that, I have not yet worked in 3D using Godot, and I wanted to get my feet wet there. Besides, I am better at roughing out models than making 2D art. I am absolutely terrible at 2D art, after all. Just because I limited my scope to what I did does not mean that every newcomer to game jams should. People come in with a wide variety of skills with game creation. Your scope can increase with your skill and experience. However, for a first venture, I do recommend limiting your scope to keep the jam possible and to keep your motivation high. The second lesson learned is to test the game after you compile it. Sometimes new bugs can crop up in the compile that was not experienced in the engine version of the game. I experienced this in my game. Every time someone would win the game, it would crash. Fortunately, Ludum Dare allows developers to fix game-breaking bugs like this, even in the compo. I was able to go back in and fix the null reference exception to make the bug work by rewriting a resource management process that I was using. As a side effect to this, I fixed one of my stuttering issues as well, which was nice. Ultimately though, be aware of what you upload. It isn't too hard to test a game again after a proper compile. With this, as a side tip, create a checklist of tests to run. If you pass all the pieces on the checklist, then the compile passed the most basic level of quality assurance and can help save face later. The next 2 tips that I learned is not necessarily about game jams, but about Ludum Dare specifically. Ludum Dare is a great place to interact with the community. I was unaware to the way things are set up. I mean, once I uploaded a game, how do you get people to play the game? I thought it was through some form of luck or marketing that you'd have to pull off, either on like Reddit threads or something. However, after I submitted my game, I saw the true genius behind Ludum Dare. In order to get your game in a position to be seen to be played, you need to play and rate other developers' games. The higher quality feedback provided, the more your game is pushed. This encourages not only for you to play a game and leave feedback, but compels other developers to play your game. There were several people who left feedback on my game because I left feedback on theirs. With that, Anyone who left feedback on my game, I ensured to go play their game and provide them with proper feedback. An issue that I had in the past with making games is getting people to play test those games that I make. I have always gotten responses like, "Oh, let me try it when it's done," which is not very helpful. How do I know if it's working well or as intended if someone does not play it? I don't count as playing it because I know exactly how it works, how it's intended to work, and I'm coming in with a lens from the developer, not from a blind playtester. Getting the uninitiated to play a game is the easiest way to see what works and what doesn't. I have also had my family test a game, largely my wife at this point, or parents in the past, but they are usually overly nice in the playtest. Getting developers to try out something that you made enables more critical eyes to look and experience what you made. Ludum Dare truly encourages interactions between developers. This leads to my fourth lessons learned. Make an itch.io account. I did not see the point to this prior to the combo turn-in. However, after playtesting other developers' games, I see its value. Not only are you able to create a more thorough page to showcase your game, but it enables you to make a more cohesive portfolio with your other projects. I used OneDrive to share my game, and this has proven to be more clunky than useful. itch.io has built-in features to show games on game jams and other features that are just invaluable. If another developer likes your work, they can follow you to see other projects that you have made outside of Ludum Dare. It is an excellent way to start building a community, which can be invaluable if you are ever to release a game commercially. If you were to participate in other events, itch.io creates a nice central location to showcase all of your work. It is certainly an option that I plan to investigate further into. It also enables you to upload a game to play in the browser for Unity and Godot, which leads to my fifth lessons learned. If you can create a webpage playable version of your game, do so. Test the feature before the jam to ensure you know the process to minimize surprises later. I found myself going for the web version of games over binaries, and I'm sure others have done the same. Once again, to tie into tip number 2, test the game once uploaded to ensure it is playing properly. Assuming this was done on itch.io, also ensure the game is made public. I do not know how many games I want to try but could not due to the project being hidden. In the end, Ludum Dare is an experience that was rough, tiring, stressful, and it made me question my ability to make games. In the end, I am so happy that I did it. Hitting the publish button, seeing other people play what I made, and knowing I made it is an incredible feeling. I'd recommend it to anyone who wants to make games, improve their skills, or just wants to try something new. Ludum Dare was one of the most stressful experiences that I've had in game development, but I'm honestly glad that I did it. I mean, I created a game within 48 hours, and people have played it and given me feedback. Yeah, it had some embarrassing mistakes, some crashes along the way, but I'm looking forward to the next one. This is Maindric signing out. Thank you for watching this video with me, and have a good one. Say hi to the derp-tastic alien. Boom!